What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined as always by my dad Sean, and today at Reactions to the Classics we got another album review of Mr. Neil Young, this time his record American Stars and Bars, again courtesy of suggestion from our resident Neil Young super fan Carl. Carl, always appreciate you.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it, brother.
We've reviewed every 70s Neil Young record up to this point, and we're going to continue on in the coming months until we finish it out, and I'm looking forward to it. It's been very, very exciting in being able to dive in and just see how great Neil's output was in this decade.
Yeah, I think we both, I'm not overstepping speaking for you, that we both have really become big fans of Neil through this process.
So another record up today. If you enjoyed this video, y'all be sure to give us a big thumbs up. Hit that big red subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our uploads. We upload every day. Song reactions, album reviews, album reactions, live streams, all that fun stuff. If you want to maybe have us review a record, you can check out our Patreon page, just like Carl did, and we can hook you up in that regard. But all that to say, Dad, let's just get into the quick facts before we go into that track-by-track review.
Well, it's his 8th studio album, came out in May of 1977, but it was recorded over 29 months, 4 different separate recording sessions. Peaked at number 21, which isn't a high ranking, but we always remind people back in the 70s, man, the album charts were a bloodbath. It was very, very hard to chart high. Now, in the summer of 1976, Neil rekindled his partnership with Stephen Stills, resulting in a tour that ended abruptly. That's a whole nother story. And the album Long May You Run. He then embarked on his second tour of the year with Crazy Horse, but spent the first half of 77 off the road. His previous album, Zuma, which we have reviewed, had been issued in November of 75. After recording several country rock compositions at sessions in April 77, he had assembled additional tracks from a variety of earlier sessions, which we'll note when we get to those songs, to kind of compose this entire album. So it's an album, but it is a different kind of album than everything else we've encountered, because it's kind of piecemeal together, and it does kind of feel that way as we get into it.
Yeah, a bit of conglomeration of a bunch of different things. And you had Homegrown and Star of Bethlehem were slated to be released on an unreleased record, Homegrown, which, ironically enough, actually came out this year.
I was going to say, yeah, but finally in 2020 we got to hear that.
And there were a few other tracks as well that were going to be on his record, Chrome Dreamers.
Yep.
That never panned out, but eventually, though, we got this. A lot of the April 77 sessions is really just made up of the first side of this, all very country sounding.
Yeah.
You have Emmylou Harris on this record as well, and Crazy Horse is on 7 of the 9 tracks on this album. Which is always a good thing. So, again, very strong instrumentally, as you would expect. Neil always surrounds himself with very talented guys and gals, and as we'll get into, you even have Linda Ronstadt on that side 1 on backing vocals a ton, which just adds a warm dimension to this record.
And we get to side 1 now, performed by Neil, Crazy Horse, and the Bullets, pedal steel guitarist and longtime Young collaborator Ben Keith, violinist Carole Mayedo, I probably butchered that, and as you mentioned, Trey, backing vocalist, not only Linda Ronstadt, but someone who also became a little bit of a star in her own right, Nicolette Larson. This was all recorded in April of 77. We're going to start off with the Old Country Waltz. Has some of those nice backing vocals from the females. For sure more country, but still a little rock drive. Steel guitar. Simple story. It's a simple country music story, actually. She dumped him.
That's right.
He's sitting in the bar drowning his sorrows while the Old Country Waltz plays.
See, and I think this is one of the things Neil's so good at. He's able to really just cut through all the BS, if you will, and go right to the heart of things to connect with the listener.
He relates to the everyman.
Exactly, and that's the thing. I think everybody's been in that situation where they're down in the dumps, they've maybe had one too many, and then they're also trying to drown their sorrows in music. Hey, man, that's one of music's greatest things.
Exactly. That's why I think one of the reasons why bars are so popular. You can drink and hear the music, man.
Be able to escape a little bit. Ben Keith is fantastic on that pedal steel guitar, which is littered throughout this first side and gives it that country feeling. And then with Linda's Ronstadt's vocals as well, gave it a bit of a warmness. This is I think a unique footing for Neil, just to show we're gonna get a little bit type of different sounds here, at least on this first side. And then that's gonna take us now to track 2.
Track 2, and I mean, if you wondered if it was country or not, track 2 is going to let you know. Saddle Up the Palomino. This one's a little weird because it starts with a laughing. It has a nice riff that sticks in your head, though. Not a bad song. Lyrics, Trey, were kind of obscure. He does mention wanting another man's wife. What did you think this was about?
Yeah, I especially like the lyric, "You can't cut it, don't pick up the knife. There's no reward in your conscience stored when you're sleeping with another man's wife." This, again, was a very country-laden, a little more rockish than our opener. I thought it was a bit forgettable on this record, to be honest. But, hey, man, I'm sure many people out there love it, and
Sure.
I'm sure over time it'll grow a little bit.
Yeah, that's going to take us already to track 3. Hey Babe. He's asking her to profess her love and devotion for him. Short on lyrics, Trey, but it repeats itself a lot, not in a bad way. Female backing softens it a bit. Once again, I just thought it's an okay song, man.
I thought it was the catchiest up to this point because there was a lot of repetition.
Yeah, that's a trick that he used on this album in a few different areas.
Especially in that chorus, and I think due to the subject matter with kind of he's able to convey with his voice that heartbreak and just what goes on in a loving relationship. And again, I think that's a great way that Linda was able to add to this record.
Yeah,
you kind of had that male-female perspectives on these loving subject matters and relationships.
It's a nice dichotomy. Once again, now we're going to move on to song 4. Once again, little country here.
Yeah.
Hold Back the Tears. Female backing's more prominent on this one, almost a bit Spanish influenced to me, right? The instrumentation at times. I think he's talking with a friend. They both had their hearts broken, Trey, but he's telling him to hold back the tears because his next love might be right around the corner. So you kind of got to pick your head up, man. It's going to be all right, even though they're both hurting, and even though in your head, it's kind of the stuff that people say to you, right?
Yeah.
It's you don't really want to hear at the time, like, "Oh, don't worry, man, it'll get better with time." But he's telling, man, just pick your head up, because if you don't, you're going to miss the one who may be the one right around the corner. So that was pretty good lyricism.
Yeah, Neil shifts to a little bit more kind of hope and perseverance. Just saying, get back on the saddle, kind of push those fears away, because, man, we all know those fears can get into our minds. So I related to that. I thought this was solid. Not a great tune for me, but I still thought it was pretty solid. But my favorite song on this first side with the countryside, we'll call it, is actually the last song on it. We got track number 5,
Bite the Bullet. And in this one, Trey professes his love and lust for a girl in Charlotte. Much more driving instrumentally, more up-tempo. Great guitars and solo on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dad. I really liked how this was a bit more rocking, country rock inspired, and
starts to build us into side 2.
And this gal seems like quite the woman, as
she
Neil's
does.
describing her. Letting his lust and love really come out throughout the lyrics. And again, I liked how shout out to the violin. That's all throughout here.
Yes,
adds a unique perspective and texture to the song. And again, Linda and the female backing vocals were pretty neat. So strong way to end off this side. And now we're going to go to songs that were recorded, as we were mentioning at the start, in a plethora of different time periods.
Yeah, and this one is officially credited on the record label itself to Neil Young and Crazy Horse. Just these guys on this side. So you get a little bit of a different sound, much less country. It's a sound that I prefer much more from Neil. I guess it's because that's what I'm used to, but I really like when he sits in this stuff. And the first song, Star of Bethlehem, recorded all the way back in November of 74. Neil said, I cut this in Nashville where I cut Harvest, but much later in 74. Is from the re-released album Homegrown, sort of a sequel to Harvest. And it's short lyrically, Trey. He reminisces on happier times and all the loves lost, and kind of all those loves will do is take from you. So it kind of goes back to that more realism, I guess, and maybe I don't want to say doom and gloom. It's just realistic. That's what life is a lot of times.
Yeah, here you have Emmylou Harris, which is notable. I thought she was fantastic on this. Harmonica, a bit more of an Americana-esque style, which I enjoyed quite a bit. And knowing the next 2 tracks, which are heavy guitar laden, I thought it was a solid way to start off this side. This is actually the closer of 2020's record, Homegrown.
It is.
If you want to go check that out. And man, I dug it for what it was. Dug the content, as you were mentioning, Dad. Just noting, whenever we're living in those good memories, we often don't stop to appreciate them until time has passed, and we look back and we think, man, those were some fantastic times. You almost wish you would have appreciated them more.
Yeah, because then when you look back and they're gone, you become a little bit embittered at times. But now we're going to move on. These next 2 songs, for me, I'm already going to give it away, but were the highlight of the album.
Same here.
I mean, they're just fantastic. So the first one we're going to tackle, Will to Love. So we're going to skip ahead on this one to May of 76 when this was recorded. It's over 7 minutes long. It had been intended for Young's never-released Chrome Dreams album that you mentioned earlier. He recorded it alone in a single take on a 2-track cassette tape, sitting in front of a fireplace playing the acoustic guitar. He used a fader and applied some techniques to achieve a fish sound. He also overdubbed percussion, bass, and vibraphone himself. He claimed to have recorded it, mixed it, and put it all together in less than 8 hours. But you can hear that fireplace cracking, that you know that it's in there now when you listen to that song every once in a while.
Yeah, this has got to be one of Neil's most unique tracks we've heard up to this point, at least. There's probably some stuff later that is quite unique as well.
Yeah, it's very unique. And on that note, I want to interrupt you real quick. He said he never sang it again because he couldn't recreate what he did there because he wasn't really sure. So I thought that's unique in its own right, man.
You know, this kind of reminded me a little bit of songs off of McCartney's debut just because it had that home quality. Neil was putting everything down. I thought the vibraphone added a cool texture. Having Neil on drums was neat as well. And
I agree.
The watery vocal gave it a bit of a otherworldly quality, and yet you hear the fire cracking and it brings you back down home. So it was very unique kind of dichotomy in that regard.
It definitely is.
And I just love the whole salmon metaphor and what he was having to say there, kind of feeling like he's all dried out at times, and almost gave it a spiritual-esque type quality. Thought the metaphor was very strong. Your mileage might vary on this one.
It might. He says he thinks it's one of the strongest songs he's ever done.
So I love this one, and I'll be curious in the comments, y'all. Are you a fan of this one or not? Because it is I can see how it could be a bit polarizing.
I'm with you. Yeah, I don't think anybody sort of likes it. You probably either really like it or you can't stand it. The next song, if you can't stand it, man, give it another 10 listens because it's fantastic. Like a Hurricane. This one's November of 75. It's over 8 minutes long. There's a story that he wrote this song in 1975 with his La Honda neighbor, Taylor Phelps. Neil was messed up. He was on cocaine at the time. They were in the back of a vehicle.
Hey, all the makings of a great tune.
His vocal cords were damaged, so he couldn't really talk. And he talked about the song in 2004 and kind of how he came about writing. We were all really high, effed up, been out partying, wrote it sitting up at La Vista on Skyline. I wrote it when I couldn't sing. I was on a voice rest. It was nuts. I was whistling it. I wrote a lot of songs when I couldn't talk. Great guitars, nice vocals, a bit strained or pain tray, which fits with the song. It just gives it the charm. The chorus sticks in your head. This song's fantastic.
Oh, definitely. It's always nice when the longest tune on the record is the best or one of the
always
best.
A positive, man.
At over 8 minutes long, it didn't feel like it.
No.
The ending 2.5 minutes are all guitar laden. This is definitely the best guitar on the entire record.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Some of the best you'll hear from Neil as you kind of harken back to Zuma and something like Cortez the Killer.
Yes.
And a little flashback there. I thought Neil was on fire. I liked how the guitar started kind of screaming at the last couple minutes, kind of with that unbridled passion like a hurricane would. Again, he utilizes the calmness, like being in the center of a hurricane, yet you know it's about to get real.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because you're in the eye of the storm, so to speak. So again, with this and the whole salmon metaphor in the previous track, again, highlights, I think, Neil's a great songwriting ability. And then that's already going to take us to our final tune here.
Our final tune's Homegrown. Now, the last two songs, Will to Love and Like a Hurricane, were over 7 minutes and over 8 minutes. Homegrown's only 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Not really sure what the song actually is about, Trey, but there's some interesting stuff as far as like it's almost a cappella at times.
Yeah, I did some digging, and we know how Neil loves the farmers of America,
right?
But also a little, as I did more digging, probably a bit of an ode to people growing their own weed.
He's upstaging the research guy. I like it. All right.
Not a bad track, and a bit of a unique way to end the record after the more heavy topics that we had.
Yeah, it really was.
The previous two. I thought this was the weakest on the second side. But
so do you think he should have went out with Like a Hurricane and flipped those two so he went Will to Love?
I kind of think that might have been better. I
kind of do too, but arrangements are very difficult to come up with, especially back in the time where albums were the way they were arranged. It was highly important. In our days of streaming, we can arrange it however we want, but I'm sure there was some thought process and maybe in and out, kind of leveling it off a little bit. But I was curious what you thought about that.
No, and yeah, that'll take us now already to our favorite tracks. I got Bite the Bullet from the first side, and then Like a Hurricane would be up there as well as Will to Love.
I already gave mine away, Will to Love and Like a Hurricane. Takes us to the overall grade of this album. I think it's kind of a tale of two sides to a certain extent. Side one is fine. I mean, it's Neil Young. I mean, I don't mind me a little country every once in a while. Some good stories. I mean, it's Neil. I enjoy it. But, you know, it's nothing standoutish for me. It's average for me. Side two, you have those two highlights. Other two are okay. So in that, it's going to be my lowest grade by far of any Neil album, although I still enjoy it. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, and I say this before, but it's worth saying again. I've given albums 8 2.5s and 8.5s that I'll honestly never listen to again. It's just that's what you do when you're trying to break down the music. You respect it for what it is, but it's not really your thing. This stuff is still my thing. Some of these songs I'll revisit. But for me, it's a 6.25. Still a solid grade.
No, you highlight a lot of my points. You can definitely tell this was kind of piecemeal together with the different styles. Again, shows the wide amount of mask that Neil can wear. You know, go from country and the acoustic tracks to heavy rockers. You got a little bit of everything kind of on this record. Didn't have like a ton of huge standout tracks that I'm going to go back besides from Will to Love and Like a Hurricane.
Yeah,
but hey, man, that's not a terrible problem to have. Just based on how great his previous work is. I'm also going to be lowest I've had a Neil Young record. I'm feeling a 6.75 on this. But again, all that to say, I did enjoy the album for what it is. It's still a solid score.
And it's part of the charm of Neil, right? Because most artists would try to make it fit together better or get some sort of theme to it, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to put out there the stuff that I've done. He never really cared about that, and it's just really a big part of his charm.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, that album cover, man, just very in your face as well on top of that. But let us know, y'all, what you think of American Stars and Bars down in the comments below. I want to shout out our patron, Carl.
Thank you, Carl.
And we're going to have more Neil Young coming up to finish out the year, his next 3 records, so that will be fun. Looking forward to continue to go through that. And as always, Dad, appreciate the research.
Of course.
And until next time, y'all, thanks for watching. Happy listening, and we will see you.